Hey everybody, it is Christine. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, I am a homeschooling mama of 3 and I share homeschool content here on this channel. So I would love it if you'd stick around and subscribe. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my advice for brand new homeschool mamas. Okay, so I have been homeschooling for like two and a half, almost 3 years now, I would say. I started very informally and we added it in kind of slowly, and so it's kind of hard to put like a set date on when we started, but it's been at least a couple of years of homeschooling now, and I feel like there are some things that I've learned along the way thus far that would be really helpful to share with you. And I know that the homeschool year is starting up for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, and so I wanted to share with you some of my tips as you get started on this exciting new journey with your kid or kiddos. It is very exciting. It is very precious. It is a refining journey, just as motherhood is, but it is one of the greatest blessings I have ever experienced, that's for sure. So I have written down stuff on my iPad, so I'm referring to it because, my brain doesn't keep everything in it anymore. So I've just written down a few points, things that I feel like I've personally learned over the last couple of years. And yeah, I just hope that maybe they resonate with you, or maybe in a time where you're really struggling, it might just come to mind and you will feel encouraged and not alone. So the first thing is that nothing is permanent. I think when we begin the process of researching about homeschooling, and then we start looking at curriculum, we read about the different homeschooling styles that a lot of homeschoolers fall into, you feel like you kind of have to assign yourself a category and then just go in that direction. Or you pick a curriculum and you feel like you have to use it until your child graduates high school. If there is anything to learn about homeschooling, it is that you will be flexible, that you'll bend and you'll change, and that you'll learn and grow right along with your kids. Nothing is permanent. Even homeschooling cannot be permanent for a lot of families. Some families just do it year by year, and that works great for them. And life circumstances come up where things may change, and so you have to go in with a flexible mindset and just realize that nothing is permanent. And when you change something or stop something, it doesn't equal failure. In fact, I would even say that it equals success, because you are identifying an issue or identifying a need for change and acting on that. And that is the best thing that you can be doing for your children and for your family. And so I just want to encourage you, it's okay if you're standing there paralyzed and not knowing which choice to make about a curriculum, or when to start, or what kind of schedule there is to your day, or whatever. It's all right to just start and then change it as you go on, because that's kind of what we all do. Number 2 is that you cannot hurry along developmental milestones. You can't do it. I was actually reading something the other day where someone was asking a question. They were like, I need to start doing this. I need to start teaching my child to read in preschool so they're ready for kindergarten. And I understand where that's coming from. I totally understand it, because I remember feeling that same way, like, oh my goodness, how are they going to learn to do this if they don't know how to do that? And da-da-da-da-da-da. And in some cases, it will work for children to do academics earlier, but not in all cases. And in some cases, it can really quash their love of learning, because they're frustrated because they are not developmentally ready to get it. Someone else was talking about like reading, and they've tried all these different reading programs and nothing's working, and her child's 6 and not reading yet. And now, as someone who's like a couple years into this, I can see that it's not for lack of trying. It's not that there's anything necessarily wrong with her child, or that she's doing anything wrong. It's just that they're not ready. And waiting and pausing and just allowing play and like play-based learning can do a world of good. And sometimes I wonder if certain curriculums really work that much better, or if it's just that we have tried a few and by the time we finally get to one that we feel is working, it's just that they've developed to the point where they understand and they're ready. And so I think it's just really important to remember that as you go in to homeschooling, especially with little ones, is that no matter what you do, if they're not developmentally ready for it, then it doesn't matter what curriculum you try, doesn't matter what method you choose, you can't force it. And it's better, it is much, much better for both of you, for your relationship, for their academics, for their love of learning, to just wait for it, because it will click. And read up on the research, read up on what it says, and it will give you a lot of, sorry, I'm so distracted. The neighbor's kid is like yelling over the fence right now. It will give you a lot of just reassurance knowing what is normal. Like the age of learning to read. Let me tell you, it's not age 5, okay? That's not the be-all and end-all age. It's not like some magic unicorn comes in and says, you are 5, you must know how to read now. That is not how it works. So I think it's one of the biggest things that we get hung up on as homeschool moms, is that teaching our kids to read, because we kind of take the public school model of how they are teaching children how to read and expect it to work for our kids, when it doesn't work for every child in public school. Kids fall through the cracks. They hate reading. Some of them obviously naturally are good at it and they're ready for it, but those who aren't, it can be a real struggle. So just remember, there's freedom, there's flexibility, nothing is permanent, and you cannot rush developmental milestones. All right, the next point to note is that no curriculum is perfect. There is just no such thing. It's like looking for a unicorn. You're not going to find it. Some curriculums will be close to perfect, but there is never going to be a perfect curriculum. And so I think when you go into that with that mindset, it can be really helpful. It'll help you to avoid disappointment, and also to just bear in mind that the curriculum is supposed to work for you and your child, not the other way around. And so if there are aspects of a curriculum that aren't working, change them, omit them. It's fine. It's okay. You can totally do that. Make it work for your child and your family. There is so much freedom in that when you understand it. And I am a very, very eclectic homeschooler in the sense that I pick and choose a bunch of different curriculum for different subjects. And we might even use more than one curriculum for one subject sometimes. So I love that. I love seeing a part of a curriculum that I could use for this, and then this would add to that, and so just realize you're not going to find the perfect curriculum, and it always looks beautiful and romantic and wonderful online. Like we kind of romanticize it in our heads of how incredible this curriculum is going to be, and then it arrives and you're like, okay, it's a curriculum, So just realize that. Some curriculums are pretty magical and amazing, but they're not the be-all and end-all. All right, next one I want to share with you is to start small. It's really wise to just start one subject at a time and introduce them slowly and see how you go with your day, and just do it a little bit. Otherwise, it's very easy to get burnt out, especially as a brand new homeschool mom, especially if you are homeschooling multiple children. It can be overwhelming and daunting to fit 5 or 6 subjects into your school week every day. Start small. I think that's really wise. And with little ones, even better. Like you can totally start with just like doing some gentle play-based learning, adding another subject into it, adding another layer into it. I think it's super wise. And then you can kind of see what's working and what's not working, and you can just gently change it along the way instead of having to make drastic changes and feeling like you've wasted a lot of time and money on something. So that's another thing I suggest. And then the last one, and there are so many I could share with you, so many. In fact, I'll try and remember to link an article that I've written on my blog about some things that every new homeschool mama should know, because there's a lot more in there. But the last one that I want to share with you in this video is just to set yourself regular breaks and to take breaks when you need them. We do 6-week terms with a 1-week break throughout the year, and then we have a larger break right at the end of the year over Christmas and stuff. Here in New Zealand, it's our summertime then. But even just this week, I had a day this week where I woke up and I felt awful. I felt like I was getting sick. I was achy and just absolutely bone tired, where all I was doing was fantasizing about getting back into bed and going to sleep. And I was like, you need to do school with the kids, you need to get work done. And instead, I was like, no. Whether I'm getting sick or not is irrelevant. My body is telling me that it is tired and it needs to rest. And so I did. I said, we're not doing school today, and Mama is going to go rest on her bed. You guys can play outside. They got a little more screen time than they normally would. And you know what? I woke up the next morning feeling like a human being again who was not sick. And it just blows my mind that just being worn out and tired can make you feel that miserable. And if I hadn't have taken that day of, having a break, school would have been really miserable because I would have been like short-tempered and exhausted. And instead, we had a really good school day the next day because I felt well rested, and we caught up on some of the things that I wanted to be caught up on. We let other things go that didn't matter. So yeah, just give yourself that freedom. Remember that teachers get paid for working like a full-time job, and you're being a teacher and a mama and, home manager. Like, there's so many things that you're doing. And so I just want you to give yourself grace because it's a lot. And I fall victim all the time to not giving myself grace and expecting more of myself than is humanly possible. And so from one failure over here, I'm sharing with you, take the breaks. It is really important. And it's healthy for your children to learn that when their bodies are telling them it's time to slow down, then they need to slow down. So anyway, I hope that this was encouraging and helpful to you as new homeschooling mamas. If you have any questions for me, leave them in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to answer them. Come find me over on Instagram because I try and share there fairly regularly. I'll have that linked down in the description as well. And I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach every